Welcome everybody. Thursday, May 22nd, 6 p.m. regular meeting for the City Council. And get a roll call, please.
Councilmember Johnson.
Present.
Councilmember Morgan. Here. Councilmember Orbach. Here. And Mayor Clark.
Here. Would everybody please rise and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Additions and deletions to the agenda?
Staff has no changes to the agenda this evening.
Great. This will bring us to our presentation for a proclamation honoring May 18th and 24th, or through 24th, as National Public Works Week. It's great to see everybody back there from Public Works. It started off perfect timing because, I don't know what's stealing your thunder, but the lagoon is shaping up, so.
Yep, it is our busiest week of the year by far. This week, every week falls on our lagoon closure week, so we don't have a whole lot of time to celebrate, but we really appreciate the proclamation here this evening. This is our crew circa 2008, with some of our crew still in the back of the room today. And then the next slide we have here is our crew right before they'd gone on in their waders and jumped into the lagoon yesterday afternoon. That's not everybody, but that was everybody who was in the lagoon yesterday. Next slide, please. So what does Public Works do? We maintain parks, roads, facilities. We plan and build long-term infrastructure, and we support all our great community events, of which we have many here in Capitola, and all our emergencies, of which we have many here in Capitola. Next slide, please. And we get a few good pictures of them. They're very dramatic and exciting, and they're dramatic and exciting times, and really a lot of times our crew is the first people in and some of the last people out. And so we are so thankful that we have such a committed and local crew here in Capitola. Next slide, please. And then we also get to have a whole lot of fun. We get to build our wharf and support that event. That's a community center patio there that is getting torn up right now. Our wristband that will be open later this year, and then our new playground, which should be open next year. Next slide, please. And so really just wanted to show our love and appreciation for you guys supporting us. Again, just some of our folks, but we are really privileged here to work in the city of Capitola. I am privileged to have such a great staff, and we really enjoy making this town the best it could be. So thank you so much for a proclamation. Some of our folks are here in the back this evening, and we just really wanted to celebrate Public Works this Public Works Week.
Thank you. It's well-deserved. Just a couple of things about Public Works. Public Works professionals focus on the infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to our community. These infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedication and efforts of the public work professionals. The year 2025 marks the 65th annual Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities and events and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works employees. Thank you, everybody. It's great work. You guys do it year in and year out.
And if you check out our city's Instagram, the city clerk was able to put up a nice little clip show of what we've been doing this week. Thank you much.
That brings us to more celebration coming, the presentation of Officer of the Year Award to Officer Armando Fierro.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. First of all, thank you, Public Works. It's really good to see you guys. You guys clean up nice, too. Working so closely with them over the last 2 decades. I mean, if we're up at 3 a.m. dealing with disaster, they're out there with us. So anyway, you guys are fantastic. So I'm here to present the Herb Ross Officer of the Year Award. And just to give a quick background, Sergeant Herb Ross retired with Capitola in 2002. He started in 1973. That was before I was born. If you didn't have the privilege of knowing Herb Ross, he was pretty dynamite. I mean, I did meet him and interacted with him, and he was very straightforward, straight to the point, and pretty hardcore. But he was a community member. He raised his family in Capitola. He lived in Capitola and had a really, really strong devotion to the youth and education. So hence the Herb Ross Officer of the Year Award. We're a little late getting started because, as you all know, we had some promotions and a lot of movement at the beginning of the year. So this is Officer of the Year for 2024. But we don't want to let it go. And so we're here tonight to acknowledge Officer Armando Farrow. Come on up here. Okay, you're okay. So Officer Farrow is receiving this award because for a lot of reasons. First of all, he was unanimously selected by the sergeants, and the sergeants are the ones that we turn to select this person because they really are involved from that interactive level with the daily operations and the progress of our staff, our officers. We've given this to parking officers, we've given this to employees throughout the years, but this year it is Armando. Because of his work ethic, I mean, he's a really hard worker, he's thorough, he is generally pretty positive. And one of the things that really struck me as unique with him is in the first year of him working with us, he came around and started asking everybody, can I get some constructive feedback? What can I work on? What can I do better? And he got some honest feedback that was hard to hear, and he actually worked on those things. And the sergeants wanted to make sure that he was acknowledged for that. So he also is a recipient of the MAT Award, which is Mothers Against Drunk Driving. How many DUIs did you get that year? 36 DUIs. So, he's just a really hard worker, and I think it's important for this community to acknowledge he's local. He's been able to balance being a police officer and a father, which is really hard. That deserves a badge of courage on its own. And thank you to his family for loaning him to us for the next 30 years. We appreciate that. And so congratulations. We're really happy to have you. And he did come to us from, I'm going to say this right, from the Santa Cruz County Jail, not from jail, but, and so, yeah, he's just been a huge asset. And so congratulations, and yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you. I apologize, I'm very nervous. When I'm nervous, I tend to speak really fast, so if I need to slow down, please let me know. I just want to come up here and say thank you to the city, along with everybody at our agency, the brass, admin, sergeants, my coworkers. This wouldn't be possible without my coworkers on the side of the road, whether they're helping me investigate or making sure that we all come home safe. Without them, I wouldn't be able to do it. We're there 2, 3 in the morning or 2 p.m. in the afternoon, so without them, we wouldn't be able to do it. To all the sergeants, admin back there, they all bring different tools and skills to the field, so we're lucky to have them and kind of gather the information and tools that we need from each of them to become our own individual success. To my family back here who has supported me my entire life, my son back there, without them, this wouldn't be possible. They're my backbone, so I just want to thank everybody and the city as well.
Thank you guys, and if you guys want to step outside, we can take photos with family, and I'm sure you want to stay for the rest of the city council meeting.
Congratulations, Armando. Well worked, well done. Congratulations. That'll bring us to another proclamation. This proclamation is for Older Americans Month. May is a busy month, but I guess it's appropriate that I would be doing this one since I'm the senior here, so. Capitola is the home to many older Americans who contribute to their time and wisdom and experience to our community. Communities benefit when people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds have the opportunity to contribute and live a meaningful life. Capitola recognizes the need to create a community that offers the services, support for older adults for any needs they may have. Capitola can help to flip the script on aging, and I urge every resident to celebrate the contributions of older adults. Thank you for being here, sir.
Yeah, yes, my name is Antonio Rivas, member of the AAA, board member, as well as I'm your representative for the California Senior Legislature in Sacramento. So I represent, Santa Cruz County as well as San Benito County. So with that in mind, thank you. Thank you for providing that proclamation. That means that Capitola City Council and Mayor, I think you care for our seniors, our elder population. It's very important now in this era that services and resources are diminishing. So it is my hope that with this proclamation, I see that your commitment for the elder population. It is very important that we continue to provide any support, any resources for our seniors. We are a growing population in Capitola, as well as Watsonville, Santa Cruz County, SoCal, everywhere. It is important that we provide the best thing that we can do. As we get older, I hope the youth can understand and comprehend that sometime they're gonna get old. Sometime we're gonna get old. Like us, myself, I never thought that I'd get at this moment that old, but here I am to provide as much as I can the support and the care of our seniors in this county. Thank you very much for the proclamation, Mayor. It is very important for us. You support us. Thank you.
That'll bring us to item 4, additional materials.
Staff received 4 emails relating to item 8A. All emails were made a part of the agenda packet for public review and were given to council before tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Item 5, oral communications by members of the public. You will have up to 3 minutes to speak, and if you state your name, it will be recorded. Welcome.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Clark. I'm Paula Bradley, a Capitola resident. I missed the April town hall and the 417 council meeting as I was cycling in Portugal, but I read about it, heard about it, and I did review the videos. I attended the RTC meeting at New Brighton in March, and as I was trying to enter the building, I was asked if I was a resident and handed a blue dot. I asked, "Who are you? And what is the dot for?" No answer given. It was the concerned citizens of Capitola. To me, the blue dot represented divisiveness in a group of residents who felt entitled, us versus them. I disposed of the blue dot as it was not consistent with my values. The disrespectful behavior, threats, intimidation, and hostility expressed by this group is not a group I want to associate with. Preceding the RTC and the city town hall meetings, I witnessed unprecedented criticism and hostility toward council members, city staff, residents, and anyone who disagreed with their viewpoint. On Nextdoor, city council members and staff were vilified, primarily if they did not oppose the rail trail project. Often comments, statements, and accusations were unfounded or misguided. The Greenway Measure L debate was fueled by anti-rail vitriol. As stated many times, Measure L was vague and was a policy decision for the council to decide, which they finally did. Showing up at a public meeting with a lynch mob mentality and off with their heads, to city council members, the city manager, public works director, city attorney, who did not bow to their viewpoint is shameful. Threatening and stalking council members and trying to get them fired from their paid jobs is shameful and wrong. With this level of hostility toward those who serve the public and are dedicated to their community, who is going to be willing to run for public office? Some kind of special interest group? The blue dot represents one of the worst days in Capitola history. It's the blue dot of shame. If you value treating others with respect and in democratic civil discourse to communicate your viewpoint instead of intimidation, threats, and hostility, lay your blue dot to rest. So I brought this. If anybody has one of those blue dots, you're welcome to dispose of it right here. Lay it to rest. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome.
Can hardly turn on the news without hearing, get your shots, get your flu shots, your COVID shots. I read a publication that's very informative with the facts. It's called Wise Traditions, a publication of the Weston A. Price Foundation, Education, Research, Activism, WestonAPrice.org. A section of the publication each time has book reviews. And here's one of them that is particularly illuminating. It's called The Medical Pharmaceutical Killing Machine. Facing Facts Could Save Your Life by Children's Health Defense, Skyhorse Publishing. And it starts out with a review. And I identify with this. I may be old and slowing down a little, but I can still do some things that millennials and Generation Z cannot do. I can back up and look at the big picture from the perspective of personal experience and observation. I can see the major trends in American health over the last 6 decades. I've seen the advances in medical technology, surgical skills, and countless new drugs and vaccines. If this is all it is usually cracked up to be, one would think Americans would be the picture of health, routinely living over 100 years, able to see through walls and leap tall buildings. Okay, maybe not. Not only has there been no discernible improvement, the opposite is true, and dramatically so. As Eisenhower warned us about the military-industrial complex, Children's Health Defense warns us about the medical, pharmaceutical, industrial complex, showing that death by medicine is far more common in the US than many people realize. Let's race through just a few of the book's highlights. Jumping ahead here, anyway, I'll jump to the conclusion. It sounds like I'm suggesting a certain intentionality behind death by medicine, but it's a stretch to believe that any one of these things is an accident. All this and much more laid out in the book cannot be just examples of bungling and incompetence. The powerful medical industry has been weaponized against it.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am.
And I'll give you copies of this and anybody else who wants one. I made several.
Thank you.
Isn't that interesting?
Welcome.
Didn't plan to speak tonight, but since there's been somebody speaking not not saying such kind words about the concerned citizens of Capitola. I'm not here to represent them, but I do know a lot of them. They're very kind-hearted people who live in this community, live, work, play, have kids that attend schools here. Just genuine people that do care about the community and care about the well-being of all the citizens. The blue dot wasn't a dot, it was a blue circle. And for those who do know, it was a spoof and a good joke. So I would encourage everybody, if you don't know about who the concerned citizens of Capitola are, reach out to someone, talk to them. They're very easy people to talk to and have genuine concerns about Capitola and are always looking to place Capitola at the forefront and looking out for the best for the city and the village. So anyway, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Just a quick comment tonight. The proclamations were really awesome. It's really nice to celebrate things. We've had such a year of drama. I'm on the Budget Advisory Committee, and we're having a lot of discussions about where things are going, and it's really eye-opening. And I'm looking at the strategic plan, and it's exciting that we're going to link the budget to that for 5 years. I am an advocate of housing. I like what we have in the strategic plan. One contradiction I have, and I'm just going to ask you to maybe help us look into it, is what's going on with the mobile home parks and seniors. So the proclamation tonight made me think to bring that up. If you could please maybe ask for some demographic data for that population of people who may be at risk for losing their homes or having to move. How many are low income? How many are seniors? Because it kind of contradicts what we're trying to do with growth and development for those populations. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
My name is Cheryl Dan, and I went to all these meetings also, and I was always treated with respect, talking about the RTC and at the school up here. So I just want to thank everybody for putting all their efforts into all sides that have been being talked about. But that's not why I came up here, actually. My concerns have to do with our first responders, with our police, with people that show up to disasters, basically. And I believe there's some things coming up tonight in the meeting, but I'm concerned about our community. And I don't think people are aware in California and our community that there are proposed multi-battery storage sites being proposed right in our neighborhoods. There's one at Minto Lake going through the process right now. There's others being proposed at Aptos High and Dominican Hospital. These are right in our neighborhoods. They haven't been tested. We can see, just remember what happened January 17th. Remember the skies down at Moss Landing. And the firefighters and the police, they didn't have the tools necessary to take care of our community. Our soils, there was soil testing done by private people paying their own money to find out what's going on. San Jose State University had a study that showed the toxic chemicals. There was cobalt, manganese, there's another one I can't remember. And there's a website called neveragainmosslanding.org. Lots of information, way clearer than I'd be able to talk about tonight. But we need education for our public to understand the risks, the dangers to people, children, the animals, our soil, our farmers right now. People aren't even shopping at the farmers because they feel things are contaminated. Our economy, the real estate can be at risk. There's lawsuits happening. This toxicity is just unbelievable and unknown. So we need to know what's being tested, when it's being tested, who's paying for it. You know, I went to a supervisor's meeting. Nobody wanted to pay for it to find out. We need the particulates. We need to know how big. I know I'm talking fast. I don't want to lose all this time here. But anyway, we also need safe shelters set up. We need to have the coordination for our health people to know what to do, what to recognize when people come in with headaches, nosebleeds, chest, that it could be from the toxicity from chemicals we don't even know the effects on, especially when they come together. But really, we need to support our firefighters who have they had the training? Do they have their hazmat suits? Do they have all the equipment to protect them as they go into these places? We're told, oh, you can put water on them, but water can escalate these batteries. There's so many details that are unknown. Let's support our first responders, really support them. Never again, mosslanding.org. Never again should we see our skies light up with that orange and be told, just go inside, it'll be all right. It's safe. Oh, we checked it, but what did they check? Did we ever ask? Do we know what our local firefighters are trained in right now? There's home fires that also happen. How do they handle those? How do we handle them? How's the public? We don't know anything about this. We need a lot of learning and education. So anyway, I'm just bringing this forward as a community, and I'm working on it. I'm learning a lot, and I've got a lot to learn, and so do we all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment?
Hi, my name is Denny Roshevich, and what it's concerning is the upper parking lot. I wish to pass around some pictures of, for you to see what I'm talking about. You cannot put a full-size vehicle in parking stalls. I've had my mirrors broken several times, and if you see the one picture with the van, there's only maybe about less than a foot from each side. And from it's on the lines almost. So, you know, California standards is 8 feet 5 inches from inside to inside, and 18 feet long. Those don't even come close to matching. I talked to the person up in planning. They told me, well, it's 7 feet 4 inches. I got the California parking thing right here with the standards. That's one thing. Two, I understand that it's going to be ticketless meters where people won't be able to get receipts when they pay for parking. That's a form of discrimination because not everyone could use a cell phone. I know a lot of people that don't even have a smartphone. They have an old flip phone. And plus, you can't use cash in all of them. And if you look at some of the pictures, you'll see even smaller vehicles that are in tight spaces up there. You need to redo those, remove some of the spaces and widen them so full-size vehicles could go in. You see what that ambulance is like, how close it is to both cars. And both cars are parked in the parking stalls. And even being in the middle, there's tight. You need to address it because, like I said, mirrors keep on getting broken. It's not just mine. I know of other people. When you're driving a full-size pickup or full-size van, it's not a wide-body van. It's just a standardized Ford van. You can't fit in the parking spots. I've seen it not just a straight from the street, where everyone parks straight, but even in the angled parking lot, part of the lots, there's a lot of problems. People are parking over the lines because their vehicles can't fit in it. That is basically what I have to say. And I hope you address that and put it to the state standards, not Capitola standards. Thank you.
Thank you. See no further comment. We'll bring it to staff comments.
I did want to take a moment to just a shout out for our WRF survey. I think we're getting close to 850 responses. It's still open till the end of the month. And I think the goal may be to hit 1,000. So if anyone hasn't done the WRF survey, please take a minute to do so. You can find it on our website or tell your friends to fill it out.
Thank you. City Council comments. I'll start at this end.
Yeah, thank you. Gosh, it's been a busy meeting already. So I just want to give my gratitude to our Public Works team. I've been watching, and for whatever reason, watching Matt in the dozer push sand around is like one of my favorite pastimes. So I just encourage everybody to go check it out, even for like an hour. It's pretty remarkable, and that the fact that they do this all in a week is awesome. And congratulations to Officer Farrow as well. I briefly attended the VDub event in the village on Saturday. I was there relatively early before I had to go to work, but I just want to say I think the vibes were really kind of Capitola geared. There was great music, lots of cool things to look at. So I think overall it was a great event for our village. So I hope to see more coming from them. On Tuesday evening, I sit on the Finance Advisory Committee. We met, so it's been a very busy month for all committees. So we met for the second time to sort of go over some budgetary, not sort of, but to go over some budgetary items. Director Khan was able to present. So I just wanted to note for the public that we do have 7 active public works projects happening right now up through the fiscal year of 26, which all pretty much have funding, whether that's from grants, local measures, things like that. But no new projects are proposed. So I want us to be able to focus on the things that we have on hand and really be able to stay conscious of what's happening in the present, and that no new general fund contributions are going to go to any works yet for 25-26. So I just thought that was a good little takeaway from that meeting. And we have a lot of work to do, but I'm confident we have a good group on the FAC right now. So should be good for our next budget hearings. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Rohrbach.
Thank you. Also want to extend my congratulations to all the Public Works staff. Thank you for all that you do in keeping our city safe and thriving. And congratulations to Officer Farrow. So I attended the Queer Youth Leadership Awards at Soquel High School. I think it's important that we continue to support organizations and systems that promote inclusion, empower youth leadership, and create safe and welcoming spaces for all people to live, play, and thrive. How we treat the most vulnerable and marginalized groups in our society is a direct reflection of who we are as a community. I'll always fight for a vision of our world that is kind, inclusive, equitable, and safe, where people have opportunities and have the freedom to show up as their true, authentic selves. I also attended the Metro meeting on May 16th and have a few updates. The first segment of Highway 1 Bus on Shoulder project was recently completed, with the second segment expected to be completed end of 2026. That'll provide 5 miles of an operational corridor. Although the red plane is visible, Metro will not begin service until both segments are complete. There's still efforts to finalize the concept of operations, develop operator training protocols, and collaborate on a public information campaign to manage expectations on signage and usage timelines. The permanent hydrogen fueling station design has started and will take approximately 5 months, with construction expected to commence in the fall. It's expected to be operational in the first half of 2026 to support the hydrogen bus fleet. And that's all my comments.
Thank you. Councilman Jensen.
Thank you. Just one follow-up. Was there, Councilmember Rohrbach, was there any more further discussion about, I was reading an article today about the new proposed way of looking at transportation. Was there any follow-up from that, from the meeting? I was reading about alternative ways of busing. No?
Not from that meeting.
Oh, okay. It was an interesting article. Thank you. So let's see, the first thing, a lot of, like Councilmember Morgan said, a lot of interesting things going on this month. One thing, I attended the community meeting with the WARF up at New Brighton Middle School. I would like to say what a great job Fuse did and also Courtney Christensen. Her outreach has been incredible in trying to get to that 1,000 survey. It's, I think, a personal goal for her. So I saw her at the car show. I see her walking around everywhere. She was out up at the Food Truck Friday event. Speaking of Food Truck Friday event, I attended last Friday. Probably the best food truck event I've been to since the city started them. I thought it was very well attended by staff, and it was great to see so many people out there. I also reached out and talked to Terrence Concanon, who is the Visit Santa Cruz, from Visit Santa Cruz, and I talked to him about the different things that his service provides to the county. Our city, through a pass-through of a tax, through TOT tax, we give a pass-through about $270,000 to them. And so I was really wanting to focus on what Capitola gets for those sorts of dollars and stuff. And so I was wondering if a request to staff, if we could maybe agendize or have a place for him to come and give a presentation. I think he came 2 years ago, approximately, when he just came on. I've also asked him to reach out to the BI and the chamber to give a presentation on what he does and how he could, I guess very much focused on what more they can do for Capitola to drive tourism and have people come here. So if that could be a request in the future, if we could reach out to him, that'd be great.
We can do that for sure.
Thank you. The other thing, I really wanted to reach out and understand, I think it's important for our city to understand the interaction between ourselves and other government agencies and things like that. And so I reached out to Scott Turnbull, who's a school district superintendent for Soquel Elementary School. Went over, had a meeting with him to talk about the amazing programs that they're running in our city and the interaction between the city and the school district, and how the collaboration is going. He is very complimentary about the relationship between the two. I thought the most amazing thing that we talked about briefly, and I just wanted to share, is that 5 years ago, their enrollment was about 1,900, and they're projecting out in another 5 years, so a 10-year span, that their enrollment will be down to about 1,200. So with the loss of 700 students, and I thought, wow, but there's new housing coming in, and it was a downer because he said they've already included the project on 38th that doesn't have funding yet, the Bluff project, the Thurber Soquel project, and also the projected project of 41st and Soquel. And so they've already incorporated those projected numbers into that loss. So it's just something to be focused on when we talk about housing and we talk about retaining families and stuff like that. I just thought it was really concerning with enrollment dropping, and we have these wonderful housing projects coming, that we're still on this downward trend, and look forward to seeing what the future looks like and how that can trend different. My last request is, there's been a lot of a public comment was made tonight, which I appreciate, but a lot of conversation going on about the Castle mobile home states and what does July 1st look like to them. And it's just very concerning to me. I mean, Capitola has a rich history in supporting mobile home parks, going back into the 80s of buying mobile home parks, working with assistants. We have rent control. Last meeting we approved, arbitration, stuff like that. And so I would really like to see if we could, I guess on maybe an urgency request that on June 12th, that could we bring back an overview maybe from staff on what, maybe an update on what is going on with that park from, I know there's talked about there's easement issues, but I also think there's some issues back from our end of things, looking at, and maybe just an overview. We have some loan programs that we have on some of those units and stuff like that. And I think just an overview, those are our community. They are low-income housing. We have pride in our community of supporting them. Not that it is our property and really our issue. I know it's between them and RTC, but they are our citizens. And so I was wondering if we could, if staff could work with our legal department to kind of give an overview to the community. And then, as a council, we can let them know that we are supportive of what, or if there's anything we can do to support them as in this challenging time that they're going to be going through, coming up very quickly as you read in the papers. And I get a lot of phone calls from those people that are very concerned. They really want to reach out to see what assistance everybody or anybody, the community and stuff, can provide to them through this challenging time.
my understanding, but I am not current on that, is that they may be in discussions on some sort of tolling agreement. If they were to enter such an agreement, do you think that, my suggestion would be is that they entered such an agreement, maybe said hearing wouldn't be necessary, but if they hadn't, would that be when you were looking to have the hearing?
Yeah, and just, I think sharing overall, yeah, just an update maybe. And so if the update was that they did enter an agreement like that, but if it wasn't, then, you know, how we, I mean, I think we do have some vested interest on the, I don't know what the correct terminology is on the type of loans that we have given some of those members over there. So, I mean, there is some buy-in that our city is given, which is wonderful. And then how does that look incorporating for our city and how we can help support them and other means and stuff like that. I just think it's really important that we show that across the whole entire city.
We can do that.
Thank you for bringing that up, Councilmember Jensen, because I think that's really, really important and a group that I really care about too. So I support the ask. I think it's important that we move forward and understand the dynamics and facilitate that coming to the table to compromise and work together, because we have a relationship with Millennium. The RTC does not. So we really need to be at the table to help facilitate a path to move forward. And help to solve this problem, because segment 10 is important and we need to move it forward.
Great comments and nice, thoughtful conversation. That'll bring us to item 7, consent items.
I can move consent item 7A.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. That'll bring us to item 8, general government and public hearing. Process to fill the vacant council seat.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we are here to discuss the process for how to address the current City Council vacancy left by Vice Mayor Alexander Peterson. So as you might remember, we went through this process back in January, so not that long ago, but the government code in California defines options for how to fill the vacancy. So you basically have two choices. You can direct staff to call for a special election, or you can fill the vacancy by appointment. There is a deadline to make this decision. The government code states that the council has 60 days to make a decision about how to fill the vacancy. So that deadline would be July 7th. A little bit of additional background. So this is a vacancy for a term that will end in December of 2026, so a little over a year and a half. Under state law, there are requirements for those who would wish to fill the vacancy. They must be a resident of Capitola, must be a registered voter, must be 18 years of age. It's the same requirements that candidates must meet to run for office. If the City Council would like to direct staff to call for a special election, the special election can be held at any time, but it cannot be held within 114 days of a regular election. The costs on the screen here of $49,000 to $56,000 are from the vacancy process back in January when we requested costs from the county. We assume that they're similar at this point that they were back then. But if council wished to call for a special election, staff would return with the required resolutions and a firmer estimate for a budget amendment, because we don't have those funds currently in this year's budget. If the council wished to proceed with an appointment for the vacancy, there are a couple of options for how the council could proceed. There's no statutory requirements for a specific process for how to appoint a successor, but as you can remember from January, there are some options available to you. So we could use the same or a similar process as what we did in January. So we have an application that we created for that appointment process. We can accept applications from the public for a amount of time which the council can direct staff on. We would use the same questions and the form from the prior vacancy and review and select the successor at the next council meeting, which is on June 12th. Another option is that we could use the remaining applications from the prior vacancy in January 2025. If we decided to go with this option, staff would need to contact the applicants to make sure they're still interested and that we can still use their applications, that nothing has changed. Another option would be to select the individual who received the next highest number of votes from the November 2024 election, or the council could designate an alternative selection process. So at this time, I am looking for direction from the council on whether they would like to call for a special election or whether the council would like to outline the appointment process to fill a vacancy. And with the appointment process, I might ask some additional clarifying questions as you guys continue your deliberations. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. That'll open it up for council questions. Councilmember Orbach. Councilmember Jensen.
Sure. Just with where we have been in, let's say, the last couple months, it seems like there is still, not that we should read everything or listen to everything we read in the paper, but still seems that there's lots of concerns about how residency works in our city, which is concerning. And as we read about it, it seems like there's not a clear path of what that looks like. And I think we should have a good, honest discussion about what does that look like. If it's not exactly, we could come to some understanding here going forward. I know myself as being a planning commissioner, you give your addresses, we get maps of circles of where we reside, and it's put out, and so that there is clear distinction of where we are, and if we have areas that we need to recuse ourselves from, it's very clean, very clean. We also need to have this issue resolved so we can have no more distractions. We can move forward. We have a lot of work of the city that we need to get going with. And here yet again, 6 months into just myself and Councilmember Orbach's term, we're dealing with another issue and now a question. And so I think it's really important to move that forward. And our goals that we set, our strategic plan and stuff like that, we need to be able to work forward to getting those. And having an issue about residency, it just seems like something that has a cloud that hovers over top of us. And so I would love to work on that and then also make sure we identify and agendize. We have a code of conduct. If it needs to be reviewed, obviously that won't be something that gets done right now, but maybe that's something that we look at in Q3 or Q4 and we go through our code of conduct and we go through and see if there's any issues like that so we can streamline the process, not just for this council, but councils going forward. So those are what my kind of questions and comments are before we go out to the public comment, and then I have additional questions after that.
So was there a question that you wanted addressed right now about how residency is defined?
Correct, because it seems like there's lots of confusion around that.
I can answer that for you. It's defined in the election code. It's section 349, and I'll read it to you. It's not that long. Residence for voting purposes means a person's domicile. The domicile of a person is that place in which his or her habitation is fixed, wherein the person has the intention of remaining, and to which, whenever he or she is absent, the person has the intention of returning. At any given time, a person may only have one domicile. The residence of a person is that place in which the person's habitation is fixed for some period of time, but wherein he or she does not have the intention of remaining. At a given time, a person may have more than one residence. So courts have interpreted this provision to look at different factors in determining one's domicile, including where that person files taxes, where that person is registered, the address at which the person files taxes, the address at which the person is registered to vote, may have a car registered. There are various factors that courts look at to determine domicile, but that's the definition that the court uses. And the Attorney General usually uses this definition in ruling on what we discussed briefly, quo warranto actions, which is determining whether a member is qualified to serve on the council.
Have we done any surveying or anything at other cities to look at there? I know, like, just for example, the city of Santa Cruz, it seems like theirs gets a lot more defined and it gets very clear on an outline of what residency means. I guess what I'm looking for is, and I appreciate you reciting that, it puts the community on a treadmill and it goes around and around and around. And we can say, go to the district attorney, go to, the city can go there, the city could go to, to the state, they could go to FPPC. This just gets down to the basics. I mean, I think for 75 years, City of Capitola hasn't had to deal with this. And I don't know if this is, with new housing area popping up and people relocating and moving and stuff like that. I was just trying to make sure that we can streamline ourselves. And so our goals going forward aren't used up on this. And so if there's a way to clarify that to an intent, and maybe if we just come back and look at what other cities, if they have better clarifying language or something like that. I know you can't go around state law, but what you just read, it seems like there's lots of different opportunities to have different perceptions of what that means. And that's just all I'm trying to get to, because there's been a lot of energy going into this issue.
I understand it. State laws are not always as clear as we would like them to be, and this is an example of that. I agree with you that it would be challenging for the city to implement rules that are more stringent than the state law.
If we just look at other cities, how they've highlighted or maybe helped clarify the issue, other than so somebody's very clear on what the intent of the law is, because like I said, I think the city of Santa Cruz might be a good starting point to look at, and just I just think it's good to identify that, and we need to move forward. So thank you.
Sure.
No questions, thank you.
No questions. I have no questions at this point. Thank you. That'll bring us to public comment. It's amazing. Okay. Now we come back to council deliberation. I'll start at this end.
It does seem odd that I was sitting in there in January while this was all happening. So I am in favor of using the same appointment process that was used for myself and others in January. The application, I think, could stay the same. I know we are, well, I'll look at the attorney before I say this with affirmity. That we can verify people's voter status and address status based on what they give us.
I'll look to the clerk, because I assume we do that whenever anyone submits papers.
Yeah, and so typically during the election process, as you all have experienced up here, before you submit or before you pull your nomination papers, so there's a period of time when candidates kind of declare their intention to run for council. They file an FPPC form, they list their address on the form. We ask, is this the address you're registered to vote at? Before you can pull your nomination papers, so the actual document that you need to be placed on the ballot, we verify that the candidate is a registered voter by contacting the county. We make sure that the address is in the city of Capitola, that all is kosher and checks out. And then we give you the nomination papers and you start the process to become a candidate. So with the application process, we do the same thing. We verify that the residential address listed on the application is within the city limits. We check that their voter registration address checks out and is correct through the county clerk's office. And then before this item will come back to you, we'll verify that all applicants are eligible to meet the terms of office.
I'm sorry, I just have one thought. When you do the voters registration, when they give an address, do you verify like PG&E bill or how that address is?
No.
So it's just that they can vote there, but we don't know they have rental contract ownership.
I do not. There's no requirement in California that people who apply for elected office have to be like owners of their home. Like a renter can run for office.
Renting. I mean, I'm just trying to, like, a lot of times you go into any place, they have to verify, you have to give a PG&E bill, you have to establish that you do live there, so there is no verification on that part?
No.
Is that illegal to check that part out? I'm just trying to resolve this issue.
I have never heard of a city doing that.
In all of my cities I've worked in, we've never verified in that way.
And we're 75 years and not having to verify it in the past. So I'm just trying to, like, can we ask for a PG?
I don't know that there's any reason we can't do that. I'm not sure that city clerk would have the resources to do that. I don't know.
It would depend on the number of candidates we receive.
I don't know. I don't know. I've never been asked that question. I'm not being
It's
cagey.
not
I just don't
typically
quite know the answer.
the process during election cycles or during appointed cycles.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Councilmember Warwick, did you have any?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I lost my train of thought. I guess I would encourage those that did apply last time to get in touch with us if you are still interested in applying. I think the presentation stated that our staff would reach out. That's, I think, would suffice as well. And yeah, I think that's all I was going to say. Thank you.
When I campaigned to run for city council last fall, I expected to serve alongside council members Brooks and Peterson. Now, both of them are gone, which is very disappointing to me. I think the politically motivated campaign to oust Councilmember Peterson was successful, and now that group will likely push forward a candidate who politically aligns with their agenda. This is not representative democracy. The people who voted for council members Brooks and Peterson are now a say in who they want to fill this position will be to hold a special election. With that said, if the council tonight decides to appoint someone to this position instead of holding a special election, I would like this unelected council member to be someone who has experience in local government and can hit the ground running. Someone who will not drive his or her own opinion on any of the issues, but rather make decisions based on the facts presented. And someone who does not have a long-standing history of advocacy for specific positions on the controversial issues that we are facing. If we are not willing to give the voters a chance to decide for themselves, the least we can do is to appoint someone who can make objective, fact-based decisions. I would also ask that, similar to the previous appointment, we request that the appointee commit to not running in 2026.
Councilman Jensen.
Perfect. So to clarify, was there a motion on the table, or is it just comments at this time?
I was just giving my comments. Anybody's welcome to.
Okay, thank you. With hearing that, I would like to move forward with the motion. I think we should have the same exact process that we had the last time when we had a vacancy, which was, I think, laid out as option number one. I would request that it's an open process and that the applicants that have previously applied, we reach out to those applicants, but also at the same time, any new applicants. I know time is of a constraint, and so maybe proposing that the application process will be open maybe starting May 27th and then closing on June 3rd. I would also like to go through the same process and highlight that we did rank choice voting last time, and that will be the same process going forward this time. Also, I know, if I recall correctly, we were not able to make a requirement that the candidate doesn't run in the next election, but I think it was a pledge that was given. Also, I think the pledge that Councilmember Morgan made at that time was not to run for 26, so it wouldn't give any leverage up. So it's an open, fair election when it comes time in 26. And then the only thing I would like to add to that is that there be a requirement to show some proof of residency of where the candidate lives at the time that they fill in the submission of their paperwork. And that could just be totally a lease. I mean, it doesn't have to be, I don't think they'd be a public document, but just verification to the city clerk that of some sort of documentation, phone, PG&E, car registry, whatever, just so we can avoid that. So that was my motion, and that's where I would like to work from.
Before someone seconds the motion, I'd like to give my input. I agree we should not have a special election, the costs and the timing. We just went through the process. It worked out well. We had some great candidates. So hopefully a lot of them will want to come back. I'd like to see the people that have already gone through it all just affirm that they'd like to do it again instead of having to do all the paperwork. But then again, I hope we can get some new people too that throw their name into the hat and want to try to make this a better place. As far as the residency thing go, I don't even think we'd have a hard time doing that because you don't even have to have a driver's license or any proof when you register to vote. But I think good just to double check to make sure people are vested in our city and they're going to be here for a long time to come. That being said, we'll be looking for a second.
I just want to, before a hard second, if we're requiring an extra piece of documentation, which is fine, I just want to make sure we're doing that within everybody's legal rights. I don't want to.
I don't think it's legal for us to ask for, because you don't have to do it to register to vote. You don't have to show a driver's license or PG&E bill. But be interested if we could
How
find
about
out.
in the application, you could volunteer a stub or something that if you feel the need, I don't know, because I just don't want to second something and then ask something of somebody and not be okay.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Morgan and Mayor Clark. Here's what I would suggest. You could second the motion, and the motion could be staff will take your direction, and then with the caveat that I do not think that there is an issue with us asking for verification, but I certainly don't want the council to direct staff to undertake a process that has an element that is unconstitutional. I would like to check that. I'm sorry, I don't know offhand. So perhaps council could make the motion with the caveat that if that portion is unlawful, we will take that out and we will let you know. All right, but otherwise going forward, assuming the motion that Councilmember Jensen made passes, going forward, we will use the process that Councilmember Jensen articulated. Does that work?
That friendly
Friendly
amendment.
amendment, Councilmember Jensen?
Absolutely.
Very good, thank you.
Then my second stands.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Before I roll call, I just want to clarify the motion. So the motion is to use the same application process as the previous vacancy. Staff will reach out to previous applicants to let them know and will inquire if they'd like to use their past application. I did want to just request clarification on the timeline. So that's May 27th through June 30th. Is that correct?
And whenever we work for staff, I just know, I think there was a hard end date, and I just looked at with the holiday weekend coming in, so.
Sure. I just want to clarify, if council is accepting applications through June 30th, we won't make an appointment until the end of
June 3rd.
June 3rd. Okay, that's not what yeah, gotcha.
Thank you for asking.
No problem. That's perfect. And then the motion as it stands is to use ranked choice voting. Is that correct? Okay. And with that, I'll do the roll call. So that was Councilmember Jensen.
Just before, you have the requirement that we talked about for the verification, so
Yep. Councilmember Jensen.
yes, aye.
Councilmember Morgan. Aye. Councilmember Urbach.
Aye.
And Mayor Clark.
Aye. Motion passes. That'll bring us to item 8B, Central Fire District and Police Department's Unified Command. Welcome, Chief. And the other chief. Two chiefs.
We're co-chiefing. All right, good evening again. I promised our distinguished guests that I would do the presenting because I appreciate them being here this evening, and that they are available for questions. And so if you don't already know the infamous Jason Nee, who's the fire chief with Central Fire, fantastic man. I've worked with him my entire career. So, and then Amanda Gillings, who is here with us from the office. I always have to write it down. It's the longest title ever. We call them OR3, but Santa Cruz Office of Response, Recovery, and Resilience, in that order. So thank you, Amanda, for being here. We've worked together. We've had a lot of emergencies that we've had the opportunity to get to know each other quite well. And then hopefully remotely, we have Patsy Gasca, who is from Red Cross. So she couldn't physically be here, but I just asked her to sort of be out there in case there's follow-up questions. So here we are, an ask from council that is very timely from, oh, she left, public comment regarding what do we do, you know, in the case of an emergency. And I just want to make a quick comment before I dive into our presentation, is that, in law enforcement, fire, emergency response, we tend to do what we do and we don't always explain out why we do what we do, how we're doing it, what's happening behind scenes. And I'm hearing more and more as I move through my career how much the communities want to understand that. They want to know more about the why. And so I appreciate the question, and here we are because we are here to take care of you. And we're happy to share some of our why. We tend to keep, tactical information to ourselves. But in terms of response to emergencies, I think it's a collaboration that happens between emergency services and community. So here we are. I'm going to go into sort of the background, our understanding of why we're here now, and talk about just an high level view of our key partner agencies. Don't switch the slide yet, please, Julia. And our collaborative framework and some of the joint training that we do so that there's more of an understanding of how well we actually know each other. And the concept of unified command, which your average citizen may not understand what that means when we go into this unified command mode, and our communication, and then the public outreach and engagement that happens for each end of it, whether we're notifying about emergency or in recovery mode. So some of the background, clearly we've had an increase in emergency incidents in the last few years that have improved our relationships. Our need for coordination and multi-agency response. We are small, and so we do depend on our partners to assist with us. And of course, our goals, protecting lives, that's first and foremost. Property and is secondary really to lives. And then to improve the recovery outcomes to get the community back on their feet as soon as possible. Next slide, please. Okay, so our key partners that immediately when we have an incident that happens, a flood, a fire, anything where we need to come together in a unified command model, we lean on Central Fire, obviously the Capitola Police Department. American Red Cross, will reach out to them at some point if we need their assistance with standing up shelters and things like that. And then Santa Cruz OR3, they're extremely useful for us when we go into standing up an emergency operations center, especially if the emergency is happening boots on the ground here in this area. And then the Sheriff's Department, we're obviously surrounded by unincorporated, and we depend on our partners in the event something happens. Next slide, please. So some of our collaborative framework. Just look at this great photo that Chief Nee gave me. It's a good photo. So joint training programs, we train with the fire department. We practice unified command, and I'll get to that when I talk about some of our training on a later slide, and our way to communicate in terms of setting up unified command. It's standard practice that you'll have a chief, a battalion chief, somebody that's in charge with the local fire department, with whoever is in charge, boots on the ground with the police department, in one location together. We do use different radio channels so that we're there to be unified and to communicate with our teams appropriately. And we collaborate in that unified command model. We practice it annually, multiple times. An example of that would be like the wharf to wharf. We respond to that as a unified command. We also set that up for the Art and Wine Festival, where we have a lot of people in one small location at a time. And then community outreach and preparedness. We collaborate a lot through OR3. They really assist us with our community outreach as well. And then resource alignment. Resources can flow up and down the county when we've had floods. There was a time where we were stable and Pajaro was suffering. And so resources can flow up and down depending on what the other needs of the county are. Next slide, please. So some joint training. We have annual scenario-based training. We all participate in active shooter training that is held at various locations. It's overall organized by the sheriff's office, and then we all send people there for the actual training day, and then also just to build out the training so that all of our vested needs are a part of the training. It's multi-agency. We do multi-agency participation. We focus a lot on our coordination, our roles, and communication protocols. This muscle memory is really important because when we get stressed, some of that can go out the window. So we practice, practice, practice. Next slide, please. So unified command and communication, some examples of that. The EOC, which stands for the Emergency Operations Center, Cruise Aware, which we encourage people to access that. Gen Z's, which was formerly known as Zone Haven, that was used a lot during the fires and the flood in 2023. OR3, Integrated Command Operations, and Red Cross. They will tap in and coordinate with shelter and any other support services if we get to that level where we need their assistance. Public outreach. So community education and preparedness, I believe that that's part of why we're here tonight, is to really push that forward and begin that discussion. I have no doubt you'll have questions and some asks that'll come back to us, and we welcome, oh, it's okay. And we welcome that. Oh, no problem. Can't remember exactly. Can you go right there? Okay, thank you. Emergency messaging. I mean, I've said it a few times with our patrol staff. I remember a time, and I'm sure that Mayor Clark does as well, where you had 48 hours to get a message out. Now with social media, we have about 48 seconds. We had an incident the other day where, I was at the incident and getting phone calls by the press immediately, almost before I could even notify the city manager. So it's pretty incredible how quickly information travels. So we try to use obviously all these modalities to get our communication out there and to be as clear as we can on any evacuations or warnings, so that we are not over communicating something, and that way the public listens to us, and that we're not, in a sense, crying wolf. When we actually say we need you to evacuate, the people listen and they go. And that, go ahead. Next slide. So please receive this information as you have. And hopefully that gives just a little bit of an overview of our collaboration with the other joint emergency responding partners within Santa Cruz County area. And please ask, I welcome questions and any other deeper dives that are needed as we move forward. Oh, there she is.
All right. I'll bring us to council questions, and we'll start with Councilmember Jensen.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Chief, for pulling this together. I really appreciate it. A couple of things, and maybe Chief Nee could respond to them. I just like, I think we're really well educated on what the backup system is for our police department, CHP and Watsonville if needed and that sort of stuff. But I just wanted to get an overview from the fire department, like what a first alarm fire looks like and a second alarm. And I think a lot of these questions stem from like what we saw in Maui, and then, with Capitola being a beach city and stuff like that, just like what is the resources and how does that kind of hypothetical situation kind of look for our residents, and I think for myself also.
Good evening. Mayor Clark, nice to see you again. Yes, thank you for the question. The question regarding, in your example, is a structure fire. 5 fire engines, 1 ladder truck, and 1 battalion chief is what Central Fire sends to a confirmed structure fire. For example, Christmas morning down here in the Esplanade, that's what the initial response was. Central Fire is the only agency in Santa Cruz County that can supply their own people to a first alarm structure fire. Everybody else, all the other organizations throughout the county, don't have that number of resources available. So if there was a fire in Capitola, for example, you get the Capitola station, the Soquel station, the Aptos station, the Live Oak station, and the Thurber Lane station, the battalion chief out of the Aptos station. So we get about 20 people there, probably in about under 7 or 8 minutes. for a confirmed structure fire. Then additionally, on top of the initial response, there's a second alarm and then a third alarm. And that's really the biggest you can get in this county just because of the number of resources available. And a second alarm is essentially a matching number of resources. You have probably 40 to 50 people show up at that point. And then the third alarm is the largest. Essentially, it's a duplicate of the initial structure fire alarm. Did that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, it did. So like a first alarm would take all the resources that Central has, and then a second alarm is, sorry, maybe I missed that part.
Yeah, no, great point. So we have 7 stations in Central Fire, so we would have 1 in reserve. And then after that, you'd get the City of Santa Cruz, Scotts Valley Fire, City of Watsonville, perhaps a Cal Fire, depending on the location of where it is. And essentially what then happens on the larger countywide level is they activate someone like me to the dispatch center, and we start moving resources throughout the county to disperse them more evenly because of this giant black hole that we've created near the incident. So basically what happens is there's a big incident like Christmas morning. All the resources close to it get drawn into that, and then we start backfilling folks in to kind of strategically move throughout the county.
Yeah, thank you. I hear that question a lot in our community, so I really appreciate that information. I have a couple other additional questions. So I know right now, and maybe you could elaborate on the updating of the emergency disaster plan, and what does that look like in time frame from full implementation? I know there's a grant process that you're going through for that and stuff like that.
There is. We have not received that grant yet, but we are hopeful to. We're not sure about whether or not the funding is going to happen. However, well, for example, you'll see Captain Zamora's back there. I asked him to stick around for this presentation because regardless, I've made a commitment to dive in and get that the emergency operation plan updated.
Great, thank you. And then 2 things that are more from a personal level, just asking. So I know there's a lot, we live in a small community, and so outreach, and if there's ever a disaster, earthquake or something like that, that is outside of fire safety or, police safety or something like that. I was wondering, about, let's say we just needed people filling sandbags or, assistant and stuff like that. And so from a volunteer standpoint, how that could be better organized. I think your department used to have an amazing VIP program, which has been depleted, and it's a different department now today. And I was just wondering, with volunteer program, would that be something that you would encourage community or something to reach out to Red Cross, or how do you envision that that we could have the Red Cross could have a dial-up phone tree or something like that, just to be prepared for the catastrophic event that just labor could help out.
Yep. So Amanda, I'm going to tap you for a second, okay? All right. Amanda's really knowledgeable about volunteer organizing. In fact, we were just talking about it yesterday afternoon. And oftentimes in our community, when you talk about our volunteer program, our community is very small, and a lot of the times people are impacted by it. And we have all of our emergency personnel is in the field and not able to organize volunteers who are typically impacted by it as well. So this is when we lean on our partners and encourage people to get involved at the broader scale, because we will tap into OR3 and Red Cross to assist us when these disasters happen. So Amanda, if you don't just mind talking about volunteers.
Amanda Gollings, Office of Response, Recovery, and Resilience. I'm an emergency services analyst, and thank you for your question, Councilmember Jensen. So a couple of answers. We do have a countywide VOAD, which is an acronym for Volunteer Organizations Assisting During Disaster. And that's what I like to call a blue skies organization that does have an executive director that does include American Red Cross, programs like CERT, non-government organizations, and CBOs that all come together and kind of coordinate any type of volunteer efforts that would be needed before disaster, during disaster, or after in the recovery process. We often encourage communities, counties, cities to engage because what we've seen is when you have spontaneous volunteerism, it can create kind of a secondary problem. To your point about response-related volunteering. I would highly recommend anybody get involved with the CERT program, which is Community Emergency Response Team. We have a very large, robust CERT program within the County of Santa Cruz, and that organization is run through the Santa Cruz County CERT Auxiliary. And so our CERT program here in Santa Cruz County, we're kind of special because they all kind of operate under the auxiliary and work together. So it's not just City of Capitola CERT. It's, you know, if Chief Ryan, for instance, wanted to activate the CERT program, it would be CERT members from all over the county coming to assist. And that's exactly what happened in December during the storms.
And you can share some of that information with the city
Sure.
offices or something like
Yep. I would be happy to share that information with Chief Ryan, and she can come and report out, or you can invite me back and I can provide you with some information.
Thank you. And then just my one last thing would just be, let's say if we just fast track out 3-4 years from now and we have our program in place, I just like to encourage that maybe we do a mock drill or something like that. You know, sometimes doing a tabletop exercise works great and everything, but just so the community really sees, you know, something come together. I know the sanitation department did one a couple of years ago down in the village and mock drill, like, you know, the sewage pump didn't work. So, but I would like to see that, like, in an ultimate goal is one day to see that, and however that works into a schedule, or if that ever comes to fruition, it'd be great. So thank you again for everybody attendance, and on the overview was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Orbach?
Are we just asking questions?
Questions are now.
I actually don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Councilmember Morgan?
This may be a stupid question, but so when there is an emergency that all agencies or both of our agencies would respond to, how do you guys communicate? Because you're not on the same radio, right?
Right. So we have a regional 911 dispatch.
Okay.
And so
the
they're-
dispatch will
correct. Yeah, they will
communicate.
tie us together. And then, I mean, we have been known to jump on an immediate text thread and phone calls. I mean, it's pretty immediate, but it all is initiated.
So if and when we upgrade our
Radio system?
yeah, would that tie in to
That's about
fire, or
without
is that?
getting, I'm not a complete, without getting too in the weeds with the radio thing.
Yeah, sorry.
But it's about transmission.
Got it.
We all have issues with our radios working in different areas, especially as we travel up and down the coastline. So that's really to improve the infrastructure. Correct, Chief Nee, would you agree with that? Okay, so that's really what that's about. It's not about us jumping on the same channel. Fire has a lot of crazy tones on their channel. But it's not about that. That's why we have unified command, where you actually have supervisors come together, you know, standing at a patrol car, standing at an engine, and communicating out to law and to fire on one unified direction.
Great. Yeah, that was my question. Thank you.
Got a few questions. I like this stuff.
I bet you do.
Stuff. First of all, the message boards. I know we've used them and they've worked out quite well. What I'd like to see is maybe another one, an additional one, instead of just the two we've been using. We can have one at one entrance to the village, one maybe at the fire station, and then one on the other side of the village. And if we had them in the same places all the time, that if folks were not getting stuff on their cell phones and power was out, and we had the message boards, folks would know where to go to get the information they might need.
Agreed. And actually, I was warmed my heart. Our community, our law partners actually turned to me just after I became chief and said, "Hey, Sarah, there's some money." And the county always tends to gobble it up, but maybe, do you have an ask? And I asked for 2 message boards. So I'm still waiting to hear back, but I think I agree that at least having a total of 3 that we can use between us and Public Works. And so I'm still in the waiting period of the funding to get those, but we've already gone through the quote process and I've submitted the ask.
Great. It'd almost be nice if we had a site on the city website that was nothing but emergency situations and preparedness, where we could have all the information for Cruise Aware. Maybe Amanda could help us out with all the CERT information that we could put out to all of our citizens. And if we can kind of just bolster all the emergency things that we might need.
Yes, we can do that. As we dive into our website, as we just talked about in our last meeting, I think that is certainly, something that we're going to be looking at.
Great. And lastly would be what Councilmember Jensen was talking about, training. If we could do annual training and an annual meeting at council where we talk about all these things. That would be awesome if we can make that a yearly thing.
Sure.
Excellent.
Thank you. Anything else?
No? That'll bring us to public comment. Seeing no public comment? Oh, here she comes. Welcome. Thank you. Welcome.
I'm reminded of a book called Living Downstream, an ecologist looks at cancer in the environment. And it's from a parable where this community living downstream gets really excellent at rescuing people like you, saving them from disaster, pulling them out of the river. And Dr. Sandra Steingraber, the author of the book, said, no one goes upstream to see who's pushing them in. And her book is a journey upstream. I translate that to mean, what are the corporate causes of these disasters? You just heard one addressed earlier tonight about the Moss Landing fire and these lithium battery sites that are proposed. And here's a flyer, a poster I'll give to anyone here. Never again. Stop the 3 lithium-ion battery storage facilities proposed for our county. One near where I live, Aptos High, 190 Minto Road, Watsonville, one near Dominican Hospital. And it states thousands of people in Santa Cruz and Monterey counties are ill from the toxic air released during the world's largest lithium-ion battery fire on January 16th at the Moss Landing battery storage sites. Oh, and PG&E plans to start up their section of the Moss Landing site next month. If you have burning eyes, metallic taste, sore throat, burning tongue, cough, nausea, rash, difficulty breathing, headaches, exhaustion, and more, you may have been poisoned by the fire. The emphasis needs to be on halting these known toxic, fire-prone sites before they're ever approved. Then you don't have to have so many sickened people and disasters. That's one source. Another source of toxicity and fires are these so-called smart meters. Doesn't that sound good? Smart. Here, smart meters cost you money, risking your health, privacy, and safety. And I'll give you these. They emit microwave radiation and dirty electricity. They can catch fire, explode, and damage appliances. And also, right here in Capitola, and I went and saw this years ago, it says fires and explosions, fatalities and serious injuries have been caused by smart meter fires and explosions. Maybe you've dealt with some. Following fire incidents, hundreds of thousands of smart meters have been called.
Appreciate your comments.
Other places. But here's the last part.
Thank you so much for your comments.
Exploded off the walls here in Capitola, California. These dangerous appliances need to be halted. So I'll leave you with this. And geoengineering also causing fires.
That'll bring us back to council deliberation.
Would you like this for your police station?
Sure, I'll jump in and just extend my gratitude to our PD and fire, along with OR3. I've seen them actively participate in some community outreach awareness. I think it was like when we were evacuating the village anyways. I think it was for our tsunami threat. So I appreciate the collaboration of all the joint committees and yeah, anybody that wants to volunteer or further outreach for that, I think would be great. And yeah, keep up the good work. Thanks.
I also want to extend my gratitude to you, Chief, as well as the PD and Central and Response is exactly the collaborative framework we need to tackle some of our most difficult issues. I'd love to see more of this type of collaboration to address some of our other issues like housing and transportation and infrastructure and climate change. I think we have to really think outside of our Capitola silo because all of those issues affect us. All of the housing that's being built in Santa Cruz will affect us because there will be more people and we'll need to fix some of these transportation issues. So I'd love to see more collaboration moving forward. Thanks.
Again, thank you for the presentation, Chief. Really appreciate the overview. I think it was great for the community as we had these last couple of years of disaster, so thank you for that. Would really love to hear more information about organizing, through the program, through OR3, so if you could bring that back even before the request of the mayor, like just some informational packet would be great. And just, again, thank you for what you and our fire department does to protect the city and their citizens, and then how the mutual aid part works is I think it's just so critical and with a small city with our resources. And I know you back and fill them just as they back and fill us. And so highlight of that was just a little incident that you had the other day. You see CHP, you see everybody, Sheriff's Fire, immediately how everybody comes together. And that's just about great leadership from all levels. And so thank you again.
Yes, thank you, Chief. Thank you, Capitola PD, and the Central Fire, and the county, OR3. It's about time we got around to doing this a little bit more often, and I'm grateful that we're moving forward. It's been received, but better than that, it's been well received. So we'll leave it at that. Staff have anything to add? With that being said and done, bring us to adjournment. Everybody stay safe, take care of each other. See you next week.